Okay, Chapter 8, East Asia. Okay, the East Asia realm, as you'll notice, is made up of Mongolia, China, Japan, North and South Korea, and the island of Formosa, which is the nation of Taiwan. As you can tell, it's densely populated. And one of the interesting things is there's been a recent growth in internet usage in this part of the world. Obviously, China controls it more than Japan, but so technology is booming. As you can tell from our map here, the interior of China in particular is elevated. There are extensive rivers running from the uplands downhill toward the east in China, producing great access for transportation and communication. But obviously, another problem in this realm is it's located near plates that are moving, creating earthquakes and tsunamis. Climate-wise, as you can tell on the map, you have arid climates, subhumid, subtropical climates, and as a result, it's creating an atmosphere that's perfect for rice production, as you can tell on this slide. But it also produces all kinds of other issues, which you can see on this slide on the right. That is, they are still using dirty energy sources, producing a lot of pollution, and that's a problem. Landforms, again, on this map, you'll notice the Tibetan Plateau, where the Himalayan mountains are, in kind of a light tan. The purple would be considered the central mountains and plateaus, and then the green area is the lowland area where the rivers are flowing downhill toward the ocean, and that's where most people live. Here's a picture, a horrible picture of tsunami effects of massive flooding as a result of earthquakes out in the ocean, and of China and Japan in particular are all subject to that. Obviously, flood control is a big deal with the rivers in China in particular, and so the Chinese are building all kinds of dams to control that. The Three Gorges Dam, which you see in this picture, is one of the largest dams in the world. Obviously, the Asian countries do everything they can to get as much crop life out of the land as they can, and they terrace. As you can see from this picture, this would probably be a picture from Japan, even though you'd probably find this as well in China or even in South Korea. Obviously, in terms of the environment, you're going to find the Green Revolution going. That is, they are using fertilizers and pesticides to try to enhance agriculture. There is a public safety concern with that, obviously, but it is something they're working on. There is a conservation movement. There are species of animals and plant life that are being threatened with population in this part of the world, so they're working on that. Korea obviously has problems between North and South. The demilitarized zone is a hotbed of anxiety, and of course, the Asian brown cloud is the pollution I was referring to that will need to be resolved with increased technology to clean the air. Here's an example of the Asian brown cloud due to burning dirty energy sources. All countries at one time went through this. The United States did it obviously in the 60s, where we had pollution in California. Remember all the pollution in the skies of England in the early days of Industrial Revolution. Increased technology will clean the air like it's done in the United States, and the countries will move from dirty energy sources to clean energy sources. That's part of the developmental process. Historically, this realm is known for its empires, China in particular. As you'll notice, China has been around in an agricultural civilization for over 8,000 years. There have been several dynasties, and in those dynasties you've had all kinds of growth and reduction of Chinese influence, and the same thing goes for Japan. Japan has been a very big empire as well. Buddhism and Shintoism are two major religions in the group, and you'll read about that in this chapter. Obviously, another thing about Asia is the political and industrial revolutions that have been going on. Mao Zedong led the Communist Revolution in 1939, which you'll read about. and he radically reformed China, actually sent it down the wrong road. And now the Chinese are becoming more free, even though they got a long way to go. Japan went through a dynastic period of time and modernization. And of course, they led to the opening of World War II. And then, after the defeat of the Japanese, have been moving toward free economies and more democratic government. Here's a picture of the Chinese economy making some changes from communism to what we call state capitalism. The idea of made in China used to be junk. Today, China makes some very high quality products, including that Apple iPhone that you are using. The Koreas, well, that's another issue. South Korea is a free democratic society, highly tech-oriented. North Korea is a dictatorship, communist, with a lot of economic isolation, spends way too much money on its military, and is suffering horribly. The Pacific Rim are 47 nations and territories with urban economic centers. It's an emerging economic base, very, very strong, of the United States is working with this part of the world to improve the economy with open trade. Obviously, politics and war prevalent. The war in Korea in the 1950s. Obviously, Korea is still fighting North Korea, so North Korea is a very dangerous place, as you can tell in your discussion in your book. Taiwan, on the other hand, is a more democratic society. They are called the Old Nationalist Chinese. These are the Chinese people that escaped from communism in 1939, and Taiwan is allied with Japan and South Korea. Obviously, in terms of religion, Tibet, which is in China, is a more or less the capital of Buddhism. There's a picture of the Dalai Lama, and obviously they are suffering because the Chinese communists do not want them to be controlling the minds of the people. So you can see in terms of culture, religion and language. Religion in China, you have Confucianism, which is more of a philosophy than a religion. And then, of course, they're very thoughtful of ancestors. Japan, on the other hand, Shinto, Buddhism. And then you see Feng Shui, which is another kind of a philosophical religious belief that you'll find in Asia. One of the things you'll find in Asia is that there are few immigrants. The Asian people are very strong, and there are many ethnic minorities within Asia, but very few people are moving in to the country. And there are some issues with Tibetans that are being addressed, and so there's some conflict over in Asia. As you can tell, 1.56 billion people are in China in particular. It's the second largest populated country in the world. India is number one. And you can see where most people live. They live obviously near water, in fertile soil areas, and away from desperate conditions. Notice that Japan is literally one person on top of another because of the limited amount of open land. Population control is a big issue in China because of the fact of they have over 1 billion people. The problem is the one-child policy is undergoing some change as a result because they're having so few women being born in their society. There's a gender balance problem, and that's being addressed, I think, with some new policies. And there's obviously the changing attitudes of women that you'll find in Asia. In terms of future geographies, the Chinese economy is growing. There are negative and positive results to the slow growth, and that growth is kind of slowing now. It was moving pretty quickly earlier. Korea, especially South Korea, is developing. North Korea still has problems. And the issue with China is its relationship to the United States in terms of free trade and geopolitics in general. That's it.